Ladies and gentlemen, it is happening. More job cuts on the horizon, and a recent announcement made by Bank of America CEO that shows that we are going to see a reduction in the workforce by at least another 10,000 workers as these businesses move towards Jerome Powell and the Fed's planned initiative of eliminating millions of jobs. Actually seeing the number climb now to closer to 1.7 million jobs lost.
We turn now to the economy and the mixed signals about its future. Brian Moynihan is the CEO and chairman of the board of Bank of America.
Brian, thank you so much. You know, you've been talking so much now about this idea next year of a mild recession. When you're preparing Bank of America for the year ahead, what does that preparation look like for a mild recession?
Now, these jobs lost may not necessarily come in the form of layoffs and terminations and folks being fired, but ultimately these jobs will be lost in the economy from these businesses, these positions going unfilled and not being replaced, okay? Bank of America lays off, not in the cards for Chief Brian Moynihan. He'll let natural attrition balance the books, ladies and gentlemen. This is the evolution of business and how we're going to see some folks out of jobs and unable to replace them. So it says here that Bank of America has to trim down its headcount in the coming weeks as an economic downturn takes shape on the horizon. But unlike peers at Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley, who have resorted to mass layoffs, Bank of America CEO Brian Moynihan and CFO, Chief Financial Officer Alistair Borthwick, are opting for a different strategy, folks. Moynihan says he doesn't see the need for layoffs and plans to reduce the bank's headcount by letting natural attrition do most of the work. Once employees depart from the company voluntarily, the bank will keep empty positions unfilled, move people around, and retain them or retrain them as needed. Folks, we talked about this. We discussed this on a previous video that I brought you guys about PNC Bank and the cross-training of the employees at the banks in their positions while introducing new forms of AI, artificial intelligence, and technology to supplement the workforce as these folks are pretty much walking away, retiring, quitting, resigning. That's the other thing, folks. It's not just natural attrition. There can be changes made within the business, within the organization, within the business model, and that will make employees want to leave. Therefore, the company doesn't have to say they lay people off. They'll say people quit due to, unfavorable circumstances and changes in the work environment that provoke them to make the move on their own to leave, to perhaps maybe find a better opportunity elsewhere. Now, I actually have real world boots on the ground intel specifically relating to the companies and natural attrition and not replacing and refilling these empty positions while retraining employees. And in fact, I'm working on bringing you guys an interview in an upcoming video of a young woman who is in an administrative role in a sales position. And get this, folks, the company she works for has seen a reduction in their workforce, in their staff, as they are leaving and moving towards other opportunities, whether it be higher income producing opportunities or a lower cost of living situation. Because you guys know, for if you've been watching, you guys know that we're in a tourist beach town. So it's not necessarily the most economical living choice that people can make. However, that's neither here nor there. The jobs are being walked away from. People are resigning. They're quitting. They're putting in their 2 weeks notice, however long the notice may be. But for this employee in particular, management has come and told her that the position will not be refilled. And now we're going to need you to take on the role, mind you, administrative, executive, sales role in real estate, in the real estate market down here in Florida, in Northwest Florida. What we're going to need you to do now is actually pick up the slack from this employee attrition, and we're going to need you on top of your duties you have now of sales and management and administration. We're going to need you to pick up the slack in the janitorial and cleaning as well. That didn't sit quite well with this young woman, and I don't fault her or blame her for that, and there's nothing against the role. However, she did not sign up for that when she took on this job 2 years ago. So what does that do? Well, that in turn puts her in a position to say, you know what, I'm leaving. And then all that's going to do is push more of this weight down on the other folks that are stuck in these roles, while not increasing their income for the added job duties that they have to take on, folks. This is what the businesses do. This is what they're going to do. This is what they're going to continue to do to get their balance sheets where they want them, get their profits up where they like them, and screw everybody else. Now, Bank of America's headcount has bounced between 205,000 and 215,000 in recent years as it hired thousands of people over the pandemic. It says that Monahan said we are up to about 215,000 employees and we need to run that back down. So if we just do simple math, he's at 215. They used to bounce between 205 and 215, and he's saying that they need to run it back down. So 215 minus 205 produces 10,000. So 10,000 jobs, odds are going to be looking to be eliminated and not replaced. The company is also using technology to reduce its non-customer facing employees by consolidating back-end processes and updating its mobile apps, according to Monahan, which the company is expected to continue doing in the next year or the new year. And we've already seen this with Bank of America. They've been doing this. They've been doing this a lot. I actually visited a location that didn't have a single human being working there. It was all ATMs and computer screens and webcams. That was it. You had to use your card to gain access to the building. As these positions are opening, as folks are quitting, resigning, retiring, leaving, being forced out, whatever the terminology may be, they are not going to be refilled, and they're going to be replaced by computers and technology and artificial intelligence, AI. Monahan has taken a different approach in managing style from other banks in recent years by raising the minimum wage paid to staff, offering employees more cash and stock bonuses, and improving benefits over the last year. Hopefully some of these folks took advantage of that. But what also separates Monahan from the rest of the pack is his optimism about where the company is headed. Monahan has been a staunch believer that the upcoming economic downturn won't be as bad as people fear. He's probably saying this from a position of folks who are actually doing what they need to do to prepare themselves for the shift and change in the economic climate. Probably some, not all. And on CBS's news, Face the Nation on Sunday, he said that he expects the U.S. economy to contract by just 1% for the first 3 quarters of 2023, then return to positive growth. You know, these are encouraging words, folks, but I would still prepare and plan for the worst and hope for the best. Monahan is also no stranger to layoffs or recessions in the aftermath of the financial crisis. Monahan previously made a decision to cut 30,000 jobs from Bank of America in 2011 to save the company $5 billion to ensure its survival. So, folks, please don't think that he won't do it again. He has a bright and optimistic look at the future, but I can tell you this: if things don't pan out and play out the way that he hopes and he thinks, well, guess what? He gonna do what he got to do. Okay. Now, which banks have done layoffs? The question is asked, and the answer is, as the possibility of an economic downturn begins to spill over from the tech sector into banking, many of Bank of America's peers have already started culling their employees to lean their operations as deal making dries up. Morgan Stanley announced yesterday that it was cutting 2% of its global workforce, or about 1,600 employees. Morgan Stanley had about 80,000 employees at the end of the third quarter. Goldman Sachs, meanwhile, has embarked on the biggest round of job cuts since the start of the pandemic in September, eliminating several hundred roles from its 47,000 person company. Much like other financial institutions like Citigroup and Barclays, Goldman Sachs is also reinstituting the Wall Street ritual of culling its weakest performers. Folks, if you ain't cutting it, you're going to get cut. That's all I'm saying. You got to make these folks some money. Big Wall Street banks typically cut the bottom 1 to 5% of what they deem are the lowest performing workers right now. Bonuses are paid, leaving more money for the remaining 95 to 99% of employees who made it through the year. Odds are they'll stay, they'll keep their jobs, but will they see an increase in pay? For most banks, the practice was paused in 2020 after the pandemic sparked a 2-year boom in activity and deal making. Now, as the Fed continues to aggressively hike rates, deal making has screeched to a halt, forcing banks to reinstate their annual performance reviews and let go of more people. Now, although we have this report here that says, Moynihan is not planning on laying folks off, that's not what they do. I received a comment. I don't know the validity of it. It could just be somebody blowing smoke up my butt. But at the end of the day, the comment read, Bank of America just laid me off. I don't know if there's any truth to that. But if anybody wants to step up to the plate and, either send an email or even is open to an in-person, like virtual, live stream interview, feel free, reach out to me. I'd love to get your take on it, of what you're seeing, what you're hearing, what you're experiencing in comparison of what they're actually trying to tell us and say to us, and try to get an idea and a grasp on what's real. What we can believe and what we can hope for and what we can plan for, which in my opinion, we should plan for the worst, hope for the best. Folks, save your money, budget wisely, try to increase your income, make some sound investments, produce some cash flow producing assets, so that you can not necessarily fall victim to total economic collapse if you or someone else in your family that provided a large portion of your household income were to lose your job. More than likely, as the year ends, the holiday shopping season winds down and 2023 begins. Folks, let's all be smart, wise, and prepare. We know it's a struggle right now. For some, it's worse than others. But all we can do is fight through this and try to make it to the next day. You guys take care. Be safe. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.